One by one, embassies are closing in Ukraine. International offices are shutting down. Flights are being cancelled. Hundreds of millions of dollars in investment drying up. As the drumbeats of war get louder, Ukraine's economy is eroding. In the crisis, Ukraine is emerging as the biggest loser so far. The talk of war is already costing Ukraine's economy $3 billion a month. This as the country juggles state-sponsored cyber attacks, a Russia-backed separatist movement, and the threat of 150,000 Russian soldiers at its border.
This is an on-front attack on the United Nations and core principles of international law, an ultimate blow to years of peace process and Russia's unilateral withdrawal from the Minsk agreements. I warn every nation in this distinguished chamber, no one will be able to sit out this crisis if President Putin decides that he can move forward with his aggression against Ukraine. Your governments and your people will face painful consequences together with our government and our people.
Since the beginning of the crisis, the national currency has steadily lost value. On Tuesday, it plunged 1% after Russia recognized the independence of the rebel-held areas. Ukraine says around $12.5 billion have been withdrawn from accounts in the country. Members of parliament and businessmen are fleeing the country, so the impact on its economy could have long-standing consequences. The West is trying to offset with aid packages and loans. Last week, the United States offered a $1 billion loan guarantee. The European Parliament also approved a $1.3 billion in loans for Ukraine. But the destabilization of the economy is not a side effect of the Russian threat. Ukraine says it is the main point of the Russian threat. A faltering economy reduces faith in the government and forces Ukraine to divert attention and resources. A Russian invasion could upend the lives of its 44 million citizens. Ukraine is still not a NATO member, so it cannot count on direct military support. For now, the Ukrainian armed forces are on their own and they are no match for the Russian military. But not just Ukraine, the conflict will spiral into Europe. It could lead to a refugee crisis and destabilize Ukraine's neighbors. For former Soviet republics, this means being caught in another Cold War.
If the war comes, it will result in hundreds of thousands of new displaced people. Some will displace inside Ukraine. Many will go as refugees to Poland, to Romania, to Moldova, and to Russia. And they will be in very difficult situations in a freezing cold temperature.
For the rest of the world, it means more disruptions, more supply chain problems, more market volatility, and more oil price hikes. Russia is a major exporter of rare earth minerals used in airplanes and converters. Ukraine is a major source of neon used in making semiconductors. Both countries also produce major quantities of fertilizers. So it is safe to say what happens in Ukraine will impact all parts of the world. For more on this, we earlier spoke to Tanya Kozureva, who is an investigative journalist based in Kyiv. Take a listen in.
Yeah, I think it's not a migrant crisis just yet, but many people left Kyiv. Many people left Kyiv and they moved, for example, to Western Ukraine. Some of them got the tickets to the foreign countries, but most of the people, they're staying here, and even in the very dangerous zones, like near the border, people are not considering leaving because they don't have any, savings to go anywhere, or they're old and they don't have possibility to, they don't have relatives, So it's very complicated situation for many people, for many Ukrainians, They have to make a very hard choices, and I think, it's not easy. here, to be honest. Like, many people are very concerned about future. But also there are people who don't really believe in this full-scale invasion. They still believe that, that Russia and Ukraine, they have so many things in common. They have a lot of years of common history, and like we can still negotiate some peace deals and some peaceful decisions. So that's why, they're not going anywhere, because they don't believe that it can happen, that Russia overnight can make such a crazy decision. So they're skeptical, and I think this is one of the reasons they're staying. So it's like a lot of different moods. Some people are buying guns, they want to protect their family, they want to protect their property, and they are not going anywhere because, this is their land, this is their property, they want to protect it, and they're identifying themselves not with Russia, but they're identifying themselves with Ukraine.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.